NASCAR slaps Austin Hill with a penalty, Hailie, Deegan's crew chief, gets fired, and let's bury the Kyle Larson waiver discussion once and for all. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Strap in, folks. Buckle your seatbelts. We have so much ground to cover on a wild and wacky Wednesday. Let's dive right in. NASCAR Xfinity Series points leader Austin Hill has been docked 25 points and fined $25,000 for intentionally wrecking Cole Custer on Saturday. I should have said former Xfinity Series points leader because this decision now knocks Austin Hill down to third, 21 points behind new points leader Chandler Smith. Yesterday, we broke down the on-track incident. My take was that something needed to be done. Austin Hill has a rocky recent history of overreacting, punching out Myatt Snider on pit road, beefing with his teammate at Martinsville, now crashing Cole Custer on purpose. 25 points, $25,000 fine is fair to me. You have to remember that fines for the Xfinity and Truck Series will always be lower than the Cup Series. I know some fans are going to wonder why NASCAR didn't take things a step further. Why was Austin Hill not suspended? I think there are a couple key reasons why he was not suspended. First and foremost, him wrecking Cole Custer intentionally happened under green flag conditions. Cole Custer on social media compared this incident to when Kyle Busch wrecked Ron Hornaday. Busch was suspended for that incident, but that incident occurred well after the caution flag had flown, and objectively that crash was more violent. Another example, Johnny Sauter a few years back, ironically, wrecked Austin Hill under caution and was suspended. Hill wrecking Custer happened under green flag conditions. I think that's one reason he was not issued a suspension. The second reason, Austin Hill did not right rear hook Cole Custer head on into an angled wall the way Bubba Wallace and Chase Elliott did. Those are the two factors. The wreck occurred under green, and he didn't right rear hook someone head on into the fence. You can argue if that's the correct precedent to set, but that is the precedent NASCAR has set. So suspension, I was on the fence yesterday. I said yesterday that a fine and points penalty were absolutely justified. I'm glad to see NASCAR handed one out. They have to make it clear you cannot lose your cool and crash someone because you rubbed wheels. NASCAR sent a clear message. I think the message will be received by Austin Hill and other drivers in the garage. I'm good with this call. I want to know what you think down in the comment section below. Was this not enough? Too far? Share your thoughts. Next up, I must warn you, the footage you are about to see may be disturbing to some viewers. Goodyear is conducting a tire test at Iowa Speedway this week, and clips surfaced online showing what appear to be a repave turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. Dark, fresh asphalt coating the bottom lanes. What have they done? The NASCAR Cup Series will head to Iowa Speedway in just a few short weeks for the first time ever. That's exciting, but this doesn't look like any Iowa Speedway I remember seeing. Christopher Bell, one of the drivers making laps this week, said he expects speeds to be high and passing to be difficult. He told reporters, quote, "I would expect all of us to be on the bottom. I really wish the Cup cars could have experienced the old pavement for sure." That is so depressing. Now, for what it's worth, Brad Keselowski also made some laps. He did say he felt the track still had much of the same character it used to, so that is encouraging perhaps. And, just glass half full here, North Wilkesboro Speedway was also repaved recently, and that did turn out to still be a multi-groove racetrack. The tires didn't wear out much, or at all, but there were multiple grooves. Saw more passing than we did last year on the old North Wilkesboro surface, so I'll keep holding my breath. The next-gen car needs multiple grooves and tire wear to create great action and passing. I worry that a fresh repave is going to remove those two elements from competition. So I am now very concerned about next month's race at Iowa Speedway. I hope it's a good show because this track has long been waiting for a NASCAR Cup Series race. Tickets sold extremely quickly. I think the environment, the atmosphere will be fantastic. I just hope the racing is at least decent. I'm not expecting a barn burner. I never was. The next gen car isn't great at short tracks. I just hope the racing is decent, is at least acceptable. I'm not so sure now, man. I was jump scared by the images I saw on social media yesterday. I'm sorry, again, if that disturbed many of you out there. I apologize. I don't know enough about the track. Leave a comment down below. Why did this happen? Was the track due for a repave? Was the old surface that worn out, that abrasive? Was the track repaved for the sake of IndyCar? I have no idea. Leave a comment down below. Hailie Deegan is now 12 races into her first ever full-time NASCAR Xfinity Series season. And yesterday, the team announced they were firing her crew chief. AM Racing released this statement effective today. AM Racing has parted ways with Joe Williams, the crew chief on Hailie Deegan's number 15 Mustang. AM Racing's competition director, Matt Lucas, will step in as interim crew chief for this weekend's race at Portland and next weekend at Sonoma. Big news, not entirely shocking. I mean, look at the numbers. Hailie Deegan is 26th in Xfinity Series points. That's second worst among all full-time Xfinity Series drivers. She doesn't have a single top 10 finish. She has a 12th at Talladega, a solid 15th at Las Vegas, but her average finish so far this year is 25.5. There's not much else to say. It's unfortunate, but Hailie Deegan just really isn't relevant anymore. She showed no statistical improvement her 3 years in trucks, and her first year in Xfinity is, I guess, about what we all expected. It's not good. I've always felt Hailie Deegan has the right mindset, a good, aggressive approach. It never feels like she's in over her head or anything like that. She's just hasn't been good enough. Some bad luck for sure, maybe not always the best equipment, but we're nearly 4 years into her national NASCAR Series career and we've seen nothing, not a single spark. Can't keep making excuses, unfortunately. Hopefully this new crew chief swap makes some sort of difference. I feel for Hailie Deegan fans. I know there are a lot of y'all out there. I'm hoping that the second half of this year, she gives you guys a little bit more to cheer for. I'm right there with y'all. I'm still rooting for her. Now, side note, AM Racing is one of the few Ford teams in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, with Stuart Haas's announcement yesterday that they are closing their doors at season's end. What is Ford's Xfinity Series future? Will another team switch to Ford and step up in a big way? I mean, something like that will need to happen, because otherwise Ford's future in that series is on life support. Now, before we wrap things up today, let's bury the Kyle Larson waiver debate once and for all. I really haven't given a take on this all week. I briefly mentioned it Sunday night during my very emotional, very delirious post-race recap. But everyone seems to have their own spicy hot take on this subject. Here's the deal. Kyle Larson missed a race. He did not race in the Coca-Cola 600, which means he will need to request and be granted a waiver from NASCAR to maintain playoff eligibility. NASCAR Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer explained on SiriusXM yesterday that these are uncharted waters.
And this will be a decision that not just one person will make, but a group will sit and look at it and discuss it and move forward. It's a little bit uncharted waters for us, because that in the past the waivers have been mostly given to for a medical reason. So this one's a little bit different from that aspect, and just a lot of, we've had some preliminary discussions, but we haven't landed.
Elton Sawyer also said that as of yesterday, Hendrick Motorsports had not formally submitted a waiver request. It's safe to assume they will submit that request likely sooner rather than later. Now, Joey Logano was also on SiriusXM yesterday, and from a driver's perspective, he explained how this whole waiver rule is a massive, confusing gray area.
Say, okay, we win a race, and I decide, you know what? There's this race in Le Mans I want to run. Let's just say I want to run that. Can I do that? Shoot, say I just want to take a week off. Can I do that? It opens a can of worms, is what I'm trying to say. It opens a can of worms. What can I? So maybe I want to run a late model somewhere. Can I do that?
To Joey Logano's point, he's right. It is a big gray area, but I think you have to factor in the Indianapolis 500. In this specific example, we're talking about Kyle Larson running one of the biggest races in the world. If you just want to take a week off, no chance NASCAR grants a waiver, even if you want to go run a late model race. Nah. Le Mans is a maybe. like Indianapolis. Those are two of the very few, if not only, possible exceptions. But let's focus in on the rule. The rule states that a driver must compete in all 36 NASCAR Cup Series races to maintain playoff eligibility. If we look at the rule as it was written, if we even look at the spirit of the rule, then yeah, Kyle Larson put NASCAR in a very difficult spot. Kyle Larson had hours to choose between the Indianapolis 500 and the Charlotte Coke 600. He chose Indy, which I totally get. Hendrick poured a lot of money into it. There were weeks, months of buildup. Larson may never get this opportunity again. I get and respect the decision he made. But Kyle Larson effectively chose to skip the Coke 600 in favor of a different race for a different series. One of NASCAR's biggest stars, the points leader at the time, chose not to race in one of the sport's biggest events. That is exactly what the rules are trying to prevent. The rule that a driver must start all 36 races to maintain playoff eligibility is to ensure drivers aren't skipping major events. Again, Kyle Larson chose to skip the Coca-Cola 600. That was his choice. Yes, he tried to make it back in time to make some laps, but he wouldn't have been the driver of record. His name wouldn't have gone on the stat sheet. He would have collected 0 points. He could have made it to Charlotte before the start of the race with plenty of time to spare. He chose not to. It was his choice, making that clear. So again, as the rule is written, Kyle Larson probably should not receive a waiver from NASCAR, except there's a little line written at the end of the rule that changes everything. Drivers must start every race to maintain playoff eligibility unless otherwise authorized by NASCAR. Yes, that's in the rules. Basically, NASCAR added a little clause there that allows them to go on a case-by-case basis and decide whatever they want. Like I said Sunday night, NASCAR promoted Larson running at Indianapolis. NASCAR benefits from having one of its stars race on a huge stage. Larson running well at Indianapolis legitimizes NASCAR, builds NASCAR's brand, and helps create perhaps NASCAR's next superstar, which they desperately need. So go back to Elton Sawyer's point, it's going to be a tough decision. A lot of people are going to talk about it. This is uncharted territory. He has to say all that, we don't love how it went down. We wish we'd had our driver in our race. But ultimately, Larson choosing to run the Indianapolis 500 is one of those few exceptions that is authorized by NASCAR. So he should and almost certainly will get a playoff waiver. I hope that clears everything up. I think both arguments are valid, but it's that little line, unless otherwise authorized by NASCAR, that grants NASCAR the ultimate decision to decide whatever they want. Larson running Indy, big picture, was good for NASCAR. They signed off on it. He will get a playoff waiver, and I do believe he should. Imagine this for a moment. Imagine that right now, NASCAR decides that Kyle Larson is no longer playoff eligible. No matter what he does for the next 6 months, he will not be in the playoffs. He cannot contend for this season's championship. The entire season just became significantly less interesting because Kyle Larson's going to go win, 2, 3, 4 more races this year probably. And after every single one of these races, we'll have to explain that, yes, Larson won, but he's not playoff eligible. He can't win the championship. That would be absurd, right? Can we all agree on that? It already sucks that rain washed away any chance of Larson doing the double. It would double suck if this incident ended Kyle Larson's championship run 6 months early. Kyle Larson will get a playoff waiver. Otherwise, NASCAR will go to war with very influential Hendrick Motorsports. They'll go to war with one of its largest fan bases. And again, Larson not being playoff eligible would put a big fat asterisk next to the rest of this season. That would be absurd. So Kyle Larson should and almost certainly will get a playoff waiver. The debate's over. The discussion should be over right there. Let's put a period in it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode. We covered a lot of ground, I know. I look forward to reading your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content and commentary every single day. And as always, a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. It has been a very busy week. Be sure to check out my channel for any recent episodes you may have missed. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, folks. I will catch you again real soon.